October 1945, Tokyo, Japan. General Douglas MacArthur was inspecting occupied zones in Tokyo. Routine: check American positions. Talk to soldiers. Make sure order was being maintained. He turned a corner with his escort. A small street in the Shinjuku district. Damaged buildings. Rubble everywhere. Then he saw them. Children. Japanese children. Maybe 15 of them. Thin. So thin their bones showed through their clothes. They were surrounding an American soldier. Private James Mitchell. The soldier was standing there, frozen, unsure what to do. A little girl stood closest to him, maybe 6 years old, holding out her hands. The international gesture for hunger. MacArthur stopped walking. His escort stopped behind him. The soldier's sergeant, Mike O'Connor, was pulling the private away from the children. "Mitchell, step back. We don't feed Japanese civilians. That's not our job." "Sarge, look at them, they're starving." "A lot of people are starving. That's what happens when you start a war and lose." Mitchell had something in his hand. A ration bar. He was trying to give it to the girl. O'Connor grabbed his wrist. "Don't do it. If you give her that, every kid in this district shows up tomorrow. Then what?" The children stood there, waiting, hoping, silent. MacArthur watched the scene unfold. One of his aides leaned over. "Sir, should we move on?" MacArthur didn't answer. He was staring at the little girl, at her thin face, her hollow eyes. Then he started walking toward them. The sergeant saw the 4-star general approaching. His face went white. "General, sir, I was just—" MacArthur walked past him, stopped in front of Private Mitchell. "Private, you were about to give that child food?" Mitchell stood at attention, terrified. "Yes, sir." "Why?" "Because she's hungry, sir." MacArthur looked at the little girl. She was staring up at him, not understanding who he was, just hoping he had food. Then MacArthur turned to his aide. "Get me the supply officer. Now." What MacArthur said next would change how occupied Japan fed its children, and prove that winning a war meant more than defeating an enemy. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe. We tell the stories of World War II that show the hardest decisions and the humanity behind them. To understand why Japanese children were starving in October 1945, you need to understand what had happened to Japan. The war had ended in August. Japan surrendered after the atomic bombs. American forces occupied the country, but Japan was destroyed. American bombing campaigns had leveled Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya. Entire cities were ash and rubble. The Japanese economy had collapsed. Food production had stopped. Supply lines didn't exist. Millions were homeless. Adults were eating whatever they could find. Tree bark, weeds, grass, weeds, grass. Children were dying. In Tokyo alone, thousands of children were suffering from severe malnutrition. Their growth stunted, bodies weak, many too sick to walk. American soldiers saw it every day. Starving children on the streets, begging, hoping for scraps. But official policy was clear. American rations were for American soldiers. Japanese civilians would be fed through relief organizations when those organizations were set up. The problem was, those organizations didn't exist yet. And children were starving now. Most American soldiers followed orders. They didn't give food to Japanese civilians. But some soldiers, like Private Mitchell, couldn't just walk past hungry children. MacArthur understood the dilemma. After he saw the children on that Tokyo street, he went back to his headquarters. He called a meeting with his staff. "I want a report on child malnutrition in Tokyo. Numbers, data, how bad is it?" His staff brought him the numbers the next day. The report was devastating. Estimated 50,000 children in Tokyo suffering from severe malnutrition. Hundreds dying every week. MacArthur read the report. Then he made a decision. Start a feeding program. Every district in Tokyo. Set up distribution points. Feed the children. His logistics officer hesitated. "Sir, we're still setting up military operations. Resources are stretched. A feeding program for Japanese children would be expensive." MacArthur's response was sharp. "I don't care what it costs. Find the resources. Get it done." "Sir, what about Washington? They might object to using military resources for—" "I'm not asking Washington. I'm ordering you. Set up the program. Within 2 weeks, American supply trucks were bringing food to distribution points across Tokyo. Rice, powdered milk, canned vegetables. Japanese mothers brought their children, lined up, waited patiently. American soldiers handed out portions. Small amounts, just enough to keep children alive. The program wasn't perfect. The food wasn't abundant, but it was something, and it saved lives. MacArthur visited one of the distribution points a month after the program started. He watched Japanese mothers receive food for their children. Some of them bowed to the American soldiers, gratitude in their eyes. One of MacArthur's officers stood beside him. "Sir, the program is working. Child mortality rates are dropping." MacArthur nodded. "Good. But sir, some people back home are asking questions. Why are we feeding the children of our enemy?" MacArthur turned to look at him. "They're not our enemy. The war is over. They're just children." He paused. "We didn't fight this war to become monsters. We fought to prove we're better than that. If we let children starve because their parents were on the wrong side, we've lost, not the war, our humanity." The officer nodded. "Yes, sir." The feeding program continued and expanded. By early 1946, distribution points existed across Japan. Tokyo, Osaka, Nagoya, Hiroshima. Millions of Japanese children received food through the program. Many wouldn't have survived without it. The program eventually transitioned to Japanese and international relief organizations. But MacArthur's military program kept children alive during those critical first months. Years later, a Japanese woman named Keiko Tanaka gave an interview. She was 7 years old in 1945, living in Tokyo with her grandmother. Her parents had died in the war. "We were starving," she said. "My grandmother was too weak to work. We ate grass, anything we could find. Then one day, my grandmother heard about the American food distribution. She took me there. We waited in line. An American soldier gave us rice, powdered milk. My grandmother cried. I'd never seen her cry before." She paused. "That food saved our lives. Without it, I don't think we would have survived the winter." Keiko later became a teacher. She taught for 40 years. She always told her students about the day American soldiers fed her. "They didn't have to help us," she said. "We were the enemy. Our country had attacked them, but they helped anyway." That taught me something important. Kindness is stronger than hatred. Compassion is stronger than revenge. Private Mitchell, the soldier MacArthur saw that day in Shinjuku, never knew his moment became the spark for the feeding program. He was transferred to another unit a week later. He didn't hear about the distribution points until years after the war. In 1965, he read a book about the American occupation of Japan. There was a chapter about the feeding program. He wrote a letter to the publisher. "I was there the day it started. I was the private with the ration bar. I didn't know General MacArthur saw me. I didn't know what happened after. I'm glad he did what he did. I'm glad those children got help." MacArthur never publicly discussed the feeding program as a major achievement. For him, it was simple. You see children starving. You feed them. That's not heroic. That's basic humanity. But for the children who survived because of that program, it was everything. The feeding program became one of the foundations of Japan's post-war recovery. It showed Japanese civilians that Americans weren't conquerors. They were rebuilders. That goodwill helped Japan transform from a defeated enemy into a democratic ally. Sometimes the most important victories don't happen on battlefields. They happen on street corners. When a general sees a starving child and decides that compassion matters more than policy, if you were in MacArthur's position, would you have started the feeding program? Or would you have followed strict policy and waited for relief organizations? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories about World War II that show the humanity behind the history, make sure to subscribe.